ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oz by Drone. We've got something interesting happening. We're missing John on the screen. Let's go to the other screen and see what we see.
Here I am. I'm really here. How you going, guys? Welcome to the show.
Welcome indeed. Thank you for joining, and had a few audio bits of fun there. We're doing a bit of experimenting on the audio today. I'm trying something so I hear the live output, but somehow it was feeding back. But anyway, it is what it is. And welcome, John. What's been happening this week for you?
Lots of stuff happening here. Australia's getting very excited for the Avalon Air Show. They're going to have a huge drone conference down there this year. Representatives from all over the world showing technology, a lot of military hardware, but also a lot of great civilian stuff as well. I'm meeting with the people from Air who build a tethered drone in France, and Jacques is coming out. We're going to hook up Monday and have a look at some of his hardware. Going to get lots of photos for the show and some video of some of the stuff we see. And then on the 25th, I'm heading down to the conference and really looking forward to it. So big stuff happening down under at the moment. We're showing off the best tech that we've got.
Sounds like a lot of fun. And let's get into the news as I get myself organised. I wasn't organised as I should have been, but here we go. So we've had a light news week this week. We've only got a few stories and we're leaving a bit more time because we ran over time last week on the news and the guests. So today we've only got a couple. Spiders are entering the counter-drone marketplace. The Drone Hunter is a counter-drone device with the ability to shoot out a web to catch its prey. Fordham Technology showed off their invention to the Utah State Capitol building. They launched a drone that in a hypothetical situation was disobeying flight laws and presenting a threat. They then sent in the Drone Hunter to watch it. Have a look at the video and we'll see the results.
Well, welcome to our demonstration. My name's Tim Bean. I'm the CEO of Fordham Technologies. We're a company in Pleasant Grove, Utah. Received $20 million of funding. Boeing is a big investor in our company, and we're excited to be here at the Hill for Aerospace Day. What we're showing you is this small radar system. These small radars will be deployed across cities across the United States to digitize the airspace. Digitizing the airspace with radars like this and a product like Fordham Sky Dome allows you to understand what is in the airspace for both safety purposes and security purposes. Just like you have CCTV cameras on the ground to secure ground infrastructure or fences to secure ground infrastructure, this creates fences in the sky so that drones, air taxis, and other innovations like you've seen here today.
So the interesting thing about this clip, I'm just going to bring the audio down. So we've previously looked at this kind of technology before. We've seen them going and doing their game. But the interesting thing, I think, is the use of their radar system together with that. But it's also cool to look at the Drone Hunter doing its thing.
And can remove the drone by shooting a net and safely towing it away. So that's what you're going to see here in the sky to the right.
So we'll see the spider net come out in just a moment.
Taking video in the road drone, we stop it so that you can see this happen.
So the interesting thing about this, I've got a question for you, John, from a regulatory perspective. Hypothetically, you've got a drone and you've got a second drone and they're both yourselves. If you take countermeasures against a drone, even if you own it and control it as well, is that breaching regulations? Just a curiosity question.
An effective way to do this, historically, maybe.
Oh, I can't hear John.
What you have done is put up an RF antenna and listen to the RF of the drone, and then maybe try and jam the drone with a jamming gun. That doesn't work anymore. Drones today, like this target drone, are flown on waypoints with an iPad. So they just go from point to point to point. They're just listening to GPS. They're not emitting any RF anymore.
Lasers shot at the aircraft. There's a whole lot of reasons why you need to have.
So I lost you there for a moment, John. Sorry about that.
I don't know if I was going out, but yep.
So just a question. So just a question for you. So if you're doing something against your own aircraft, What's the story? What's the situation regulatory-wise?
Well, if you're doing something against your own aircraft in a training environment or a testing situation, R&D, that's all fine. Because you're, controlling both aircraft, you're not interfering with another aircraft, if you like. It's your own operation. So that's pretty clear. I'm sure that people, even recreational users are experimenting with their aircraft in certain ways that you wouldn't want someone else to. As I said, the overarching law in this country, at least, is that you cannot interfere with another aircraft. And I believe there are similar laws throughout the rest of the world in ICAO. So this protects aeroplanes from having lasers shot from the ground at them, any type of other EMP or other type of interference. So basically, the blanket law is you cannot interfere with another aircraft. A UAV, drone, RPAS, whatever you like, is an aircraft. It is still an aircraft, and that law is an overarching thing. We have other overarching laws.
And what do you think about this particular type of technology from the perspective of comparing it to other counter-drone solutions? I've lost you again, John.
And at the moment, there's a massive, if you like, interest in it, because if you come up with the right idea, if you've got the one that everyone seems to like, everyone seems to you've got to try these things. It's going to work for you. It's going to be a good business. It's going to sell. And so I would imagine people have got one foot in the patent office, another one in the test shed, and sort of getting venture capital together. So that's what I see at this time. It's interesting to make a comment. Throw it at us. Let's see if that works. Let's see how well that works and whether that's going to happen. And that's what we're in those days at the moment. That's what we're seeing in our industry. And we're seeing, bombarding. We talked about, these drone guns. Take me down to JCAR, and it's got a RF amplifier and a directional aerial. I can show you how that works. We can build up a drone, a $300,000 drone gun for about $125.
Yeah.
And so, obviously a more refined version of that is what they're selling, but everyone's having a go at the moment and how it's going to work. And I think a lot of these companies that are putting money in it are also watching very closely the regulations and to see if because at the moment that's not a legal thing that you could use in Australia. It's just, it's not there yet.
Yeah, I just like it compared to some of the other solutions because it doesn't cause any permanent damage to the aircraft. That's just one of the things that I like about it. And it also, by virtue of the fact that it's capturing and maintaining preventing it from dropping to the ground, certainly a lot better from a big safety perspective as well. So, I like it.
That's a big one as well. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's going to have a lot of weather limitations. It's going to have lots and lots of issues to solve with technology like that works. Trust me, Greg, if they actually start using this thing and you get your drone is in the wrong place and it gets captured by the net, I don't think you're getting it back. I don't think it matters what sort of state it is. Yeah. I don't think it's going to get back to you. But anyway, let's move on.
Moving on indeed. South Australian designed solar technology with the ability to triple the flying time of drones will be exhibited for the first time at the Avalon Aviation Expo this month. Praxis Aeronautics has been developing its solar UAV technology since 2016 and is building a demonstration drone to display at the air show. The co-founder and director of innovation and manufacturing, Cameron Donaldson, said that having solar cells built in as part of the wing rather than affixed to it solved the power to weight and the fragility problems associated with previous solar drone designs. He said improvements in battery technology are now needed to allow the solar wings to keep the drone in the air around the clock. Now we've seen some of these things that go up a lot higher and out of the atmosphere, and they can stay up for a lot longer as well. But flying lower, these particular designs, I think definitely the battery technology is what needs to happen next.
I think so, but in looking at the technology, I'd much rather put my money into that project than the net. To say it simply. I really think that we're going to see that a very lightweight solar fixed wing airplane like that. What we're also, I think, we're seeing pop up too is a powered lift situation. For years in the 60s, NASA used to take their X-15s and their X-1s and all their airplanes on the back of a super fortress and so forth and carry them up to high altitude and drop them. And I think there's really great scope for this technology now, having a large quad actually pick an airplane like that up vertically off the ground, take it to altitude and have it flying. Because once you get up there, in the more rarefied air perhaps, and to have clear weather and so forth, these are the type of lightweight drones that you're going to see that will actually work in the long run. They might have large wingspan, but there's certainly some go there. And Richard Hopkinson from Aeroscan at the moment, who's developing a wing for this sort of purpose. We've been talking in the last couple of months about what he's building in terms of getting something airborne vertically and having it stay up for much, much longer. Better battery technology, engine technology, brushless motors, props. It's all about aerodynamics here. And we're really going back to what we know about gliders. High aspect ratio wings and sailplanes are the most efficient. They're not very good with payload, but that's getting lighter and lighter too. So that's exciting. I think it's great to see that sort of venture capital is being put up for those type of aeroplanes. Yeah,
it's looking good. And certainly for those who do live in Australia, the Avalon Air Show, do you want to briefly make some comments about that?
Well, that was my opening news for the week, of course. To go again, it's going to be a huge air show. The first day is Monday, the 25th of February. The AAUS, the Australian Association of Unmanned Systems, is going to have a conference in Melbourne in the Victorian Arts Centre, and they're going to have more or less their annual conference get together. A lot of great talks. Tuesday, we all go out to Avalon, which is about an hour and a quarter to the northwest of Melbourne City, a very large aerodrome where the trade day is going to begin. Then there'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and half of Friday will be trade. An absolutely massive exhibition of drones from all around the world and UAV technology of all kinds is going to be there, flying displays. And then, of course, the public days on the weekend for flying, Friday afternoon, Saturday and Sunday, all the jets, all the good stuff that you want to see. I believe the day ticket is about $65. We'll get you into the Avalon Air Show for those in Melbourne or interested in going seeing it. I'm actually flying down there on a $51 ticket. Thank you very much. Right into Avalon, and they're still available. I can't believe it.
So, for $51.
$51. I'm flying to Avalon straight into the air show, and look, you can't. The parking is more than that, and I can get on a jet and fly home. So, matey, that's a little probably a plug for Jetstar right there, isn't it? But it's a very accessible air show because you can fly into it. But I think it's it's only every 2 years, and really worth going. If you can even spare a day, go down and check it out and go through and see what's there. A lot of domestic and industrial drones as well. All sorts of things. You got expos and talks from the Defence Department, from CASA. It's fun. And last time I went, it was worth every cent. It really was. It was a great air show.
Just briefly, our guest a couple of weeks ago, we had the Australian Army come and visit a couple of representatives from the Military International Drone Tournament, the drone racing team. We are hoping, but yet to have it locked in, to have one of those guys come on live during the show next weekend from the Avalon Air Show. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah,
let's move on. Let's move on to the next topic for now, though. We've got one more, and this one is an interesting one. There's a report of a Virgin Airlines near miss. So a drone reportedly came within metres of a Virgin Australia Boeing 737 approaching Brisbane Airport in the latest reported drone scare. A Virgin spokeswoman reported that the flight crew from VA 329 visually saw a drone on approach to Brisbane on Saturday. That would be last week. Virgin has reported the event to the Australian Transport Safety Bureau. CASA has appealed to anybody with information to come forward. However, we understand at this time that CASA doesn't have any evidence other than the pilot report at this time to allow confirmation of the sighting. One other kind of related topic, CASA intends to change rules to make it compulsory for all drones above 250 grams to be registered in Australia. Before those changes, CASA is doing a trial to get data on drones that are flying near capital city airports using detection technology. CASA has not formally advised what technology it is evaluating as part of the trial. But the question is, why has this story not reached the mainstream news? We've got a report of a drone at an airport, and have the news organisations been advised that the story from Virgin is not credible? Let's face it, the news organisations, they don't want to talk about a drone sighting that didn't happen. They like talking about drone sightings, but as soon as someone can say, well, it didn't happen.
Yeah, we've been there before. This is Gatwick too. Again, or a plastic bag, perhaps. The title here, and it's all in the report. The latest reported drone scare. That's just what it is. A drone reportedly came within meters, 1,000 meters. A close shave. What is a close shave? All of these things are really need to be taken care of. If we've got tracking technology, I want to know that this drone was actually there and came within 423 meters of the aircraft. It was flying. We've got this technology. Why are we sort of saying close shave within meters, all of this stuff? It's just like the Flintstones, guys. And, it is another scare. I don't blame the media for going, oh, well, last time we backed that story, where did that go? We had a plastic bag. I think the Gatwick story is another one. Again, huge public scare. And I think, I got to tell you, at one point, and I might get shot down for this, I was thinking, oh, well, if I was in the airline industry and I was really worried about these things, perhaps a few little sightings from the, occasionally would help motivate the funding and CASA to be more regulatory and more firm with their regulations. Perhaps this is a good thing. Not anymore. Not anymore, because you know what? When you ground the aviation system at an airport and no airplanes can fly, doesn't do anyone any good. The airlines don't like it; they lose money. The travel industry lose money. Everything. I think we've seen now that if it's not happening, if any chance that this didn't cause any issue, and I believe it was over 5 miles from the airport.
Yeah.
There's no real confirmation of height, so the aircraft was legal in terms of its lateral distance from the airport anyway. Only used to be three miles from the airport, but we're not suggesting it wasn't higher than it should have been. But look, the report stopped dead in its tracks, and we're going to have to deal with this for a long while yet. And I think the press is over it already, which is good. One day when some kind of collision happens, then that'll change things. That will be different.
Look, the thing that, like I said before when I was reading the story, CASA has reportedly been testing devices. Now, from what we understand, they're saying that their deployment was delayed because they wanted to have a local install rather than having something that was going to go back to China. So it's a convenient, I'm not trying to bag CASA, but I think it's a convenient response to say, well, we didn't see anything. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, look, there's a few issues with that, even with the reported technology they're using, which is probably DJI Aeroscope, nice and easy. You've got to know how to use this. And from my insider knowledge from the distributor and all sorts of other people, it's not really embedded yet in terms of testing even. So that's no one's fault. That says, well, we're going to do this. We're going to get this equipment. We're going to set it up. We're going to test it. But at the same time, trials and things, there's got to be certain audits in place to make sure the equipment's working properly. And we've done those for a security company where they've installed drone detection systems, and then we've gone and flown and shown them where we are, making sure the thing's calibrated even. So early days for that. It could have been anything. CASA, probably in lack of response, it did the right thing. Because if they don't have anything there, they're not going to contribute to the drone scare either.
True. I'm just kind of thinking it sounds like an excuse for not having the system up and running and being able to respond and comment to it. But anyway, let's.
One little comment just to finish. I think we're going to see a day with dash cams. We've already seen a helicopter cam in the dash that collected some image.
I want that to happen. I really want that to happen, John.
Makes perfect sense. We've got cockpit voice recorders, blackbot voice recorders. We've got everything else. We've got we've got everything else that monitors the aircraft. Why not have a very, very simple detection system, radar system in the airplane? I mean, you know, I can hear what that's going to cost, but that's going to happen. Yeah.
It is going to happen. But speaking of something that's going to happen, it's now time to say hello to our guest, Kelly Shores from Ready Set Drone.
Yeah, hey Kelly. All yours, bro.
Hey. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. And Kelly, let me just comment. I just want to say I had a really big intro that I forgot to read out. So let me just do this because I think it'll be fun. And now let's welcome our guest to the show, YouTube legend and silver play button holder, 100,000 subscriber megastar, Kelly Shores from Ready Set Drone.
Wow. I wish my wife was watching. She's not, but she tells me to keep it all in perspective, and I do. And it wouldn't be a show without everybody out there. It's been fun sitting in the chat and being able to chat with a lot of my friends that I see on there, and then being on with you guys has been amazing because I'm learning so many new things about Wirecast and about how you do this show. I'm really impressed. It's definitely, every time I'm on with Ken or with you or with somebody else, they teach me something new, and it's been fun to learn new techniques for live streaming.
Yeah. At the moment, we had a couple of Twitches today, and I'm just going to share with you and with the audience what went wrong before with John's audio. So we've got an audio layer at the bottom, and for some reason his audio is not working in that layer, but it's working in the video layer, and it's So long story, but it is what it is, and we'll sort that out later. And now I think someone just pressed something. Press that again. Don't do that one. There we go. My wife and my producer is not a computer guru, and I've taught her how to do some of this stuff, but anyway, she's having fun and she's learning.
Awesome to get the family involved.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. Just give me a quick little history background of where you started in drones and how you came to be a drone guy.
Sure. I could tell you, well, first of all, I own and run a video production company. So video and photography has always been my thing. I have a degree in communications, radio, television, film from the University of Texas. I worked for a television station. I worked for an event station doing video production. So that's always been in my blood. In 2013, it might have been 2013, I believe, we did a real estate video for 50 acres on Lake Travis. Lake Travis is a big man-made reservoir near Austin, and they were splitting this 50 acres into 4 plots, basically going to build luxury houses on these 4 plots. And we hired a drone op to come out. His name is Justin Edwards. As a matter of fact, his channel, and he's more on Vimeo, but his website is Drone Above. So if you go to Drone Above, he is one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He had a S900, I think, if that existed at the time. It was just a big, DJI hexacopter, a 6-blade. He had a Sony camera mounted to it with a gimbal, and he was using Fat Sharks and an analog transmitter because at the time there was no built-in FPV built into DJI drones. This is before the Phantom 1 came out. Anyway, I saw that thing take off, and I was just blown away by it. I bugged Justin again and again to get together and get to fly it and to teach me how to do it, and started working on building one. And that's right when the Phantom 1 came out, and I bought a Phantom 1, and just that was kind of all bets off. It was so amazing, the Phantom 1. I remember actually a friend of mine got one before me, and I went to his office and I kept saying, "Don't we need more space to take off?" And he said, "No, you can take off right here." We were in a small parking lot. He took off, flew it around, we landed it. And I immediately went out and bought one. And then I did my first drone review video in 2014 about the Estes micro drone, the Estes, oh gosh, I forget what it was called, but it was the first little tiny one that came out. It was like $30. And that video did okay. But then I didn't do a lot of videos for a while. I did a couple. And then in 2015, I got a 3DR Solo, did a video about that. And I think I didn't get it ahead of time. There was no clout or anything like that in getting the Solo. I happened to be at Best Buy when they had them there. I bought it, brought it home, and I think I had it pretty early in the game. And that video just kind of went nuts. And nuts for me was like 100 views. I was like, wow, I got 100 views on this thing. And so that's when I realized, I'm onto something. So, kept doing videos about the Solo, and then compared it to the Phantom 4, and then, it just kind of went from there.
Yeah, I've told this story a number of times just out of interest. The reason why I got into drones is the person who's controlling the video and the audio over here. And my wife went into Kmart and she saw a drone and knew that I was a tech guy. And, hey, let's get this for the hubby. And the rest, as they say, is history. So,
do you remember what model that was or who made it?
I'm
sure it was
Kaiser Bass. It was a Kaiser Bass drone.
And was it self-leveling? It self-leveled?
Yeah, so it leveled, but that was all it had on it. So there was no GPS, there was nothing else on it. It was fun to fly.
Oh yeah. I actually had if you guys are familiar with Blade helis, I think Blade is made by the same people that do Horizon Hobby. Blade had one that wasn't self-leveling. It was basically a fully manual drone, one of the first ones I got. And I learned how to fly that pretty well. And that was a great thing, actually, because it helped me not be so dependent on the computers and such later.
Yeah. Okay. What was that?
I don't know.
I know what it is. I know what it is. It's the toilet on John's houseboat.
Awesome. I'm still here, am I? That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's move into something else. Now that we've flushed that topic, let's move on.
Yeah.
The Drone Racing League is something that you've been playing with a little bit recently. Tell me about that.
Well, I started watching DRL 2 years ago. I'll be honest, I'm not a big sports watcher. I don't watch basketball. I don't watch much football. I watch the UT Longhorns because I went to school there, but I wanted something that I could get into and kind of see competitors competing, and that just seemed like a great fit. And I'll tell you, it is one of the most exciting things to watch for me. I really, really enjoy watching it. I enjoy the sort of background on the racers because they all have different personalities. They have different flying styles. And then had the opportunity last year in November, December timeframe to interview Paul Nurkala on the channel. And he was such a nice guy. Enjoyed doing the interview. That video hasn't received a lot of views. It's smaller than most of my other videos. But I met the PR person at DRL, and she invited me to go out to their tryouts here. And I say invited me. It was a open thing for everybody. Anybody could go. But she did give me access to all the pilots that I wanted to interview, several other people that were trying out, and as well as the CEO of Nicholas. And I'm going to butcher his last name, Harvacheski, I believe is his last name. And man, he's a smart dude. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you something I didn't know when I was talking to Nicholas. So he's the guy who founded DRL, started it, built these partnerships. And I think that's really where they've been successful, is partnering with Swatch and Allianz and these big brands to be able to, pay for these kind of events and these extraordinary production value they have. But Nicholas was the CTO or the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Technology Officer of the Tough Mudder. Now, Greg, do you know what the Tough Mudder is?
I know the name, but I can't remember where from.
So it's I don't know if they have these over there, but they have these races in the U.S. that are sort of like adventure races where you climb over walls and you go through obstacles. And the Tough Mudder is one of the hardest ones out there. I've done it. I've done that in the Muddy Buddy, which is the other one. And you have to go through these mud pits, and you have to go over.
I've seen some of them. It's got a different name over here, but I've seen them, yeah.
So he was involved in the Tough Mudder, and when drones came out, I think he saw some people racing them just for fun, and he said this could be a thing, and founded the company. And look at this. I mean, this event was enormous. Now everything they did for the tryouts was done on sims. So the DRL has a simulator that you can download on Steam, if you know the gaming platform. And I've tried it, and it's pretty fun. It's hard, definitely more challenging than you might think. And they played these things live. It was in an esports arena, so everything was done, where competitors are actually competing online, and then they had the stage set so that when they went to the quarterfinals, they brought the finalists up on the stage, and you could see live feeds of all their screens. And then a guy named Fluxy, Little Fluxy, won. I don't know much more about him, but he's the newest DRL pilot.
So, is there anything coming around?
Told, and I wasn't told the secret or anything, so I think I can talk about a version of the sim, very big step from where it is now, and it's wanted a chance to do this little tiny whoop race against some of the professional racers could do it.
Yeah. Just a quick little side comment. I will upload a copy of today's show afterwards. A couple of times it's buffered, so if you missed anything, don't worry, the replay will be there for you afterwards.
Nice,
so
nice.
That's been really, really cool talking to you about that. So what was your ranking? Can you say that in the overall competition?
So I didn't compete in the tryouts. I was just there to meet people, schmooze, and video. But I will say that I think there's a really good chance I'll get to go to at least one of the races. And last year the races were in amazing places like Munich, Dubai, Miami. Just not that Miami's that amazing, but it's a cool place. But they have them in these pretty cool venues. And perhaps they'll have one in Australia this year, but I'm really pushing them to pony up a ticket for me to come to one of them this year.
Yeah. Well, if there's one in Australia, we'd love for you to come down under. So you've got Spin Up. Maybe we should have Spin Down. Maybe that can be the new name of the event, John. Maybe we could rename it from Drone Camp to Spin Down.
That way. They're opposite. So and by the way, I've been telling people I have not booked the venue yet, but I'm kind of decided that Spin Up is going to be October 19th. And if I can't get the Dell Diamond, I'll find a place just as cool. I have a tentative hold, but right now they won't sign it for me because I'm kind of small potatoes for that venue in terms of the size. But October 19th in Austin, Texas, or somewhere close to Austin, Texas is where it will be.
Yeah. So I've got two more quick things I want to talk to you about today. One is non-drone related, but related to DJI. And I was, during our pre-show chat, I was letting you know what I was going to talk about, but it dropped out just at that moment. So you can have a surprise now after all. Our friend, the Osmo Pocket. What can you tell me? Like, you've got one, yeah?
So some of that footage, a good amount of that footage at DRL I shot with the Osmo Pocket. That was my primary B-roll camera. Yeah, so here's my question. Just go ahead. So the Wi-Fi module, the expansion thing, right? So as I understand it, and I've only just had the Wi-Fi bit come in, it then acts as a base station, but there's no way to get your Osmo to connect to a client network. Is that right? I don't know. I actually don't have. So I think I told you I ordered the expansion kit, which included the wheel and but it hasn't arrived yet.
That's right. You told me. I forgot. Yeah.
I ordered that along with the other thing I ordered was a bunch of the Fly More pack for my Mavic 2 because I only have 3 batteries and I burned through them really quickly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It would be cool. It would be cool to have one sitting right here, plugged in as a second camera source with face tracking, so that when I move, it follows me. That would be a pretty cool setup. But I don't think there's no physical plug, right? So unless you could plug it in through the USB-C somehow. Have you tried that, by the way?
So the USB-C is only charging or connecting to the Wi-Fi module, and it's a good question. I haven't tried connecting it to a computer, but I'm going to make a bet that it probably won't appear as a Wi-Fi cam.
It would be pretty cool if it did, though. If it showed up as just a webcam, it says,
I mean, that's what I want it for. At the moment, the camera that I'm using here in front of us right now is my wife's camera, and she keeps on hassling me that I'm using, her really expensive camera. This would be perfect to stream with if I can get it into Wirecast, but it doesn't seem like it's possible at the moment.
Well, I will definitely try. I will definitely try plugging mine in via the USB and just see if it pops up. Because right now I'm using this this Magwell. I don't know if you've seen this before. It's a Magwell capture card, and it goes from HDMI to regular USB, and then the USB. Actually, I have my computer only has USB-C, so I have to use a little converter to convert it to USB-C, and then it comes in and it all works. But it just shows up in Wirecast as a source. I would be curious the other one does. Hey, I'll go grab mine in a minute while you're talking. If you're wrapping up, I'll go grab it and we could try it.
I tell you what, I've got one more question. I'm going to just hit you with that, and then we're going to have some other fun stuff. I'll definitely have time for you to go and play with that in a minute. So my question is, what is around the corner? That's the question. Now, without going into any specifics, there may be some things with some companies that you can't talk about, and I won't ask you to talk about what you can't talk about, like the next release of DJI Phantom 5 when it's coming. Sorry. I won't ask you to talk about what you can't talk about, but what else is there that you can say that you think's coming around the corner?
Oh, golly. Well, I can say this because I don't know it to be true. If I knew it to be true, I couldn't say it. I do think that DJI is going to release a racing drone. That's something that the reason I think that, and I've mentioned this a couple times on other shows. So if you've heard this before, I apologize. But I received a survey from DJI, and it was all around racing drones. It was all about asking about if I flew them, asking what things I would want in them, that sort of thing. And so that led me to think that DJI would be releasing a racing drone. I would say too that I would guess, and this is another thing I don't know for sure, I would guess that there might be a refresh of the Spark coming out at some point, or maybe that's going to be the next racing drone, because it has that sort of form factor, right? They could strip it down and make it a little more user replaceable parts on the Spark as a chassis, because that size is really nice for racing. But no, I got very little for you there right now. It's kind of it seems to be in between seasons, and I will say that I get some love from DJI sometimes, and there are other times that stuff comes out that I had no idea it was coming. I didn't know what the Osmo Pocket was going to be. That was a big surprise to me, although a lot of people speculated about it.
Okay, and let me ask John. You're still got your mic live. Have you got anything for while you hear? Any questions from you?
Look, I've been sitting on the side here, really enjoying it. I've sort of perked my interest thinking about a racing drone from DJI. I've thought, of course, they really have covered all the other bases, and this makes perfect sense. And that'd be exciting. I think I'd be out the door to get one, and I suppose they could build it cheaply too. In terms of the technology, they've got goggle technology. They've got all sorts of stuff going on.
Well,
so
I was going to say too, if they could put OcuSync in it. So I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but and I have one actually in my garage. I have one on a racing drone. DJI built a standalone OcuSync module. So it was a battery-powered standalone OcuSync transmitter that you could use on anything, any drone, anything where you could get a 3S battery connected to it, and it would transmit to the goggles. So I put it on a racing drone that I built I built the drone a couple of years ago. I put it on last year. The problem is there's just a little too much lag. So OcuSync is not as fast as the analog signal that most racers use. And so when you're flying, if you're trying to fly fast, you can run into stuff before you realize it.
Yeah. Okay. Look, thank you very, very much for sharing with us today. And we will have a little play with the Tello shortly. But before we do anything else, there's one thing that we absolutely must do today.
I think I was warned about this.
Yeah. So let's get into it.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to play Stop the Yank.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the game show that we have for our special guests. And this week's special guest, we've got Kelly Shaw's the international mega superstar YouTube silver plaque holder. And it's time to play Stump the Yank. And I just realised that the music was probably too loud and I was talking over the top of it and you probably couldn't hear me. Sorry, guys, my bad. Anyway.
I could hear you.
You could hear me, yeah, but you can't hear the music. They can.
Can I clarify one thing, though, about the name of your show?
You can.
I know that pretty much anywhere in the rest of the world, especially what are all the kingdoms of the Queen called? The
United Kingdom
and the Commonwealth, which I know Australia is a part of, Canada is a part of. I know that we're referred to as Yanks, so pretty much anyone in the U.S. is called a Yank. However, I live in Texas, and there is a big distinction between Texas and the Yanks. The Yanks are really kind of the Northeasterners is where we, the New Yorkers, the Connecticut, the Boston, those are the Yanks in our opinion. But I'll go with the term Yank for now, and I'll own it.
Just so you know, outside of the US in Australia, anything that comes from your country, north, south, east, or west, is a Yank. Correct me if I'm wrong, John.
We've got to confess here, guys. So this is not going to go well everywhere in the world, but Australia has a very different sort of sense of humour where we send each other up. The word Yank doesn't come from Yankees at all. It has nothing to do with Yankees at all. So only Australians, it won't even really translate well. It comes from a rhyming slang. And like most things down here, it's sending you up. So, we always called you Yanks. We call the English Poms. Everyone has a name. And I suppose, we don't mean, it's never really meant to be derogatory. So I just want to clear that first. But,
I'm not bothered by it at all. You guys call me whatever you want. I'm just happy to be here.
Well, the other thing is that even being mentioning the word Commonwealth these days, doesn't go well with any of the Commonwealth countries because we kind of annexed ourselves away from them some time ago. But you know what, it is still considered part of the greater Commonwealth. Anyway, moving on to this. So today, I know that some of the Australian listeners get a delight out of this. One of the ones that Greg's chosen today is called the black stump. And of course, we have a term here, a number of terms about the black stump. So I'm going to pose these multiple choice questions to you, Kelly. And it's really about the term black stump. Is the Black Stump an annual 4-day Christian music festival that was held in Sydney until 2014? Is it the name of an imaginary point beyond which the country is considered remote or uncivilized, and people will argue that most of Australia is uncivilized? The former restaurant chain with a slogan, "At the Black Stump, we're famous for our steaks," or the term Black Stump was used as a landmarkers on surveyor's plan that was referred to as a boundary marker in New South Wales court in case involving a land dispute, or is it all of the above?
Which one is wrong? This is a tricky one. We've switched it around a bit. It could be all of them. It could be none of them. It could be one wrong. You tell me what you think.
There's one in there that stumps them.
I believe it's the surveyors. The third one you said, the surveyor's mark.
Well, that is correct. That is a black stump. However, I was like fast food type restaurant chains. I don't know what you have over there, like Sizzlers, like Hog's Breath. You guys invented that stuff. So Black Stump was one of our early ones.
That sounds horrible. It sounds like a horrible restaurant to go to, right? The Black Stump.
Yeah, that's right. You don't go there to a steak. No one. Well, they didn't survive.
Charred and like tastes like wood. Is that why it's called the Black Stump?
Yeah. It's a fast food kind of restaurant thing. You know, I don't. It's
still open. The Black Stump still a place you go to.
I was actually Googling that during preparation of the question, and as best I can tell, they don't exist anymore. So
no,
there you go.
They're done.
You guys make this hard. You make this difficult.
Oh, look, it's just a bit of fun. And look, Greg threw this one in today. We talked about whether we'd have one of all of the above and something to try and interest the Australian audience as well. But you know what, Greg, I think there's some. We go back to our previous one. I think we should try and get some drone ones. That'll be kind of fun too, as well. But stumping, our language is very different.
Yeah, and we joked about when next time I'm on either Ken's show or any of the other live streams as a guest, we've got to play Yank the Stump.
Yes, Yank the Stump. That's going to be a different one as well. Here we go.
Anyway, it's all good. So now we're going to move on from that. And I'll tell you what I'd like to do. We're going to go into FPV Corner. And while we're doing that, if you want to go and play with your camera and see if you can plug it in, and we'll find out if it does come up as a camera. How does that sound?
Yeah, I will go grab it, and we'll do that. And then it may disconnect me. Remember last time I changed sources, it disconnected me. But I'll just jump back right into the Wirecast rendezvous. So
sounds like a plan.
I'm going to go grab it.
Okay, so FPV Corner, let's have a look. So this week's FPV Corner is by Cruises FPV. And the comments in the video, he says this was the first time out with the Crossfire. He grabbed the missus and headed out to Bell's Lookout in Brigadoon, Western Australia. It was October 2018 and things were still green at the time. The waterfall was running, lots of wildlife in the area. You can see a few kangaroos in the video and a really, really beautiful spot at that time of year. Just watching in the chat there, old guy in a drone is betting that it won't work, so we'll find out. It's a beautiful waterfall there, and as he said, it was shot in October, but certainly very, very nice footage there. Lovely sun flare. As always, if you've got some footage that you'd like to share with us, please send it to upload@gregkuhnert.com and we'll include that in a future episode. Speaking of which, we've got a little new segment a little bit later today. We're going to have a look at the mailbag, find out what emails and correspondence we've had in this week. A couple of messages in there. So what I might do here, we've got more of FPV Corner, but I'm going to fade that music out and we might skip on a little bit. But if you have a look in the description for the video, you'll see a link to his channel. And I do encourage you to go across to his channel, have a look at that, do check it out and support that. So let's go back to the studio. And there we go. So thank you very much to everyone who sends in videos and to the stuff that gets picked up each week. We get some great contributions. And let's have a look now. The next thing we've got on our show today is... So we had a giveaway competition last week and Thomas O'Sullivan, Mark's Droneworks, iSpike and Ben Cartwright, congratulations to the four of you. You win because you were the four people who entered, but we had 5 to give away. So we've still got one more license to No Limit Drones to give away. And what I'm going to suggest today is if you could, we'll wait for Kelly to come back and I'm going to tell you what you need to do and Kelly's going to pick the winner, but we'll wait for him to come back first. While we're waiting for him to come back, we said we're going to have a look at the mailbag. And we've got 3 little things in the mailbag today. First one's from Ray Kelly, and he sent us a photograph of an intercoastal waterway in North Palm Beach, Florida. Let's have a quick peek at that. No, that's the one. There we go. So that's the photograph that he sent in, and we'll put that full screen. Thanks for sending that in. And the second one we got was from Stan Cook. So Stan comments, let me just see if I can mute that microphone. Is that, there we go. Yeah, there we go. We've muted Kelly's microphone. I heard lots of noise in the background. We'll let him play and we'll bring him back in a couple of minutes. Stan says, Greg, did you get the word that we're now required to display our drones' FAA identification on the outside of our drones? Yes, we did hear about that, and a few people have commented about it on their shows. John, you've heard this story, yeah?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, this was sort of coming. They've been debating this. We've got a survey out at the moment in Australia and how the registration is going to work. We're really annoyed at the cost. They're going to charge us in Australia here for commercial operators, who are probably just using perhaps a Phantom 4, $160 per aircraft per year for a registration sticker. Just let that sink in for a while. That's probably about $135 US, depending on what day you look, but it's just outrageous. Recreational drone users are going to have to pay $20 to have a sticker on their aircraft. I really question it. At the moment, we're in a world where regulation has to be performance based. So if you're going to charge for it, any government is going to organisation is going to charge for it. They have to show and demonstrate what they're giving for that charge and what benefit there is to the end user and what safety might be. Well, I tell you what, putting the sticker on the aeroplane, registering a drone, running a database is not the way it's done. Look at social networks like Facebook that have huge user profiles, like millions and millions of people are online talking to each other with their photos and their information and so forth. Surely we don't have to pay $20. Imagine if you got charged $20 for becoming part of Facebook, registering your name on Facebook.
It's crazy.
Not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. If they want the information, if the registration is purely to have the owner's information and address and telephone number, $20 for give me a break. You know what? It'll cause it to fail. That will be the problem. It will cause it to fail.
I agree 100% that it will. And for the US system, there are many that complain about it, but for all of its challenges, $5 is all they're charging in the US.
See, $5 is doable because I suppose I'm speculating here a little bit, and I don't like to speculate all the time when I don't know. But in this case, if you are going to pay for that, how you pay for that, pay through a PayPal account or a credit card, however you do that, you are leaving a traceable return as well, and that's just another way registration for various things in the online world anyway legitimizes things. Once you pay something with PayPal, the email address attached. So if you're creating a fake account and you pay for something, it's a little more difficult. Mind you can create a fake account and pay for it with as well. We're going to see that $5. I think most people just say, yeah, here it is. Get it done. There are all sorts of civil liberty issues with how this works, but at the same time, there is a responsibility using airspace, and no one gets to fly a manned aircraft in airspace without flying a registered aircraft and registering themselves as a pilot and being accountable for what you do. So, here we go. If you want UTM, if you want more access to the airspace, you do actually need to have a form of registration and checks and balances in place.
Yeah, agreed. I'm just reading a message from Thunderbird 6, and he says, in your ARM with CASA, just add that to your drones and the job is done. Agree with you 100%. So,
anyway. Yeah, absolutely. I think, the money that we've paid CASA for the REOCs, for those of us who are REOC operators, as well, excluded guys are going to get charged $160 as far as we know. Mind you, that it's not in place yet. This is what we've been led to believe is coming. And I refer back to the original mail from your listener, which just keeps the conversation, the dialogue going. So I've got a note here from another listener. Registration should happen at the cash register or checkout online, which is actually a great way to do it too, So there you go.
Yeah, look, there's no reason. The cost of the registration is almost zero, right? There should be no substantial charge for that. But anyway, let's move on. Just before we do anything else, we got Kelly who's been sitting in the sidelines. I'm just going to bring you back on. Kelly, you there?
Can you see me?
I can. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So here's the deal. I plugged in the USB-C connector, and then I plugged the other end into my computer, and it said, do you want to connect to your computer? And in order to do that, you have to actually remove the little phone connector. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes you take that out. So I took that out, and then it said, do you want to connect to your computer? I said yes. And then it basically doesn't show up as a camera. It shows up as a disk. So basically, when you connect it to your camera via USB, this shows up as a storage device, so you can copy stuff from it.
Yeah.
So
Kind of what I was
did not work
anticipating.
as you had hoped it would.
Yeah, unfortunately, such is life. But look, Kelly, thank you very much for being with us again. It was good having you
really
on.
enjoyed it. This was fun. I've like I said, I've learned a lot, and I will study up on my Aussie next time before I come on.
Study up on your Aussie.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, thanks very much, and look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.
I look forward to it as well. And when SOAR finally comes through and I get to come over there, I will make a trip up that way to visit with you guys as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
Take care, guys. Thanks for having me
See you,
on.
Kelly. Stay in the
Good
chat
night.
and say hi to some people.
Yeah,
See you soon.
I will stay in the chat for sure. Bye.
See you, bye. Okay, back to John. We've got one more quick little letter just before we move off that, and that letter is from Skydance, and he writes, "Hey Greg, just my personal thoughts. I understand the need for no-fly zones," and he's talking about the no-fly zone discussion from last week. He understands the need for those imposed by DJI, but there have been instances where it was a pain in the butt. I regularly fly RC aircraft at community-sanctioned model flying fields. I built my first RC aircraft, he says, in 1960. And
Wow.
I've seen all of the changes in technology involved in the hobby. I also attend major RC events where 300 or more pilots attend. Many of these events take place at either abandoned airfields or active airports that have been closed for the event and sanctioned by the AMA here in the US. Obviously, remote-controlled UAVs are being flown, but I cannot fly my quadcopter, my drone, with it because it's locked. And I had explicit permission from the airport manager and from the controller on the field, made several attempts to unlock the no-fly zone, even acquired unlock codes. However, his Mavic Pro would still not respond. So that is a challenge. And, last week we had No Limit Drones in here, and, that was just his 2 cents worth. Just wanted to share a little bit of that with our audience today.
Yeah, good. I'd really like to just quickly, very respectfully respond to that. I worked on a technical working group with CASA, and we looked at the differences. Part of the subject matter is looking at the difference between RC aircraft and the excellent record that RC aircraft have in terms of their history. For a long, long time, they've been operated safely, and they haven't been an issue with manned aircraft. So coming back to why that is, there's a level of containment with RC aircraft, non-FPV, I say specifically, and the limited range. When you actually fly an RC aircraft in line of sight, you have to, if it's not automated in any way, we're talking about 150 to 200 meters for smaller aircraft. High altitude gliders are still only operating up to 250, 300 meters away maximum, and they're large wingspan ones. So what we call that in sort of regulatory terms is called containment. And so you have levels of containment. In an RC aircraft, the containment is actually controlled by the actual visual seeing of the airplane. So VLOS keeps it really close. When you stretch it out further than that, you've got what we call radio line of sight, which means the limit of the radio telemetry and how far that goes. Once you've broken that and you've got unlimited radio telemetry via, say, a cellular network, you have an uncontained situation. So what we talked about with CASA was because we want drones and RPAS to have if you like, a reasonable level of distance operating that's beyond what the RC aircraft is using. At the moment, the technology allows you to do it well and truly. No problem operating beyond visual line of sight, and in reality, we know that this is happening every day over the entire globe. People are operating beyond visual line of sight. So what do you do with containment? If the regulator decided to say, well, look, we're going to take radio line of sight to be the manufacturer's published 7 kilometres, and even if you halved it, to 3.5 kilometres or 3 kilometres, let's start there. What we're hoping they will do, and this is a really interesting thing, is to start with around 2 kilometres. because you could clear the airspace in a wide open space for 2 kilometres around you with ADS-B monitoring perhaps and with a good observer and so forth, it would do fantastic things for the industry, for emergency services, for police and law enforcement, for everybody, if we could have a 2 kilometre containment limit for drones that have that ability to have good telemetry at those levels. So we got a ways to go. I mean, be honest with you, people are doing that every day, as I said. So they're operating at 2 kilometres safely. Well, that's I won't say safely. I'll say that they're beyond the law. Have to look at the next steps in containment and how it's going to work. Here's the issue, though, and I'll throw this one to finish up quickly. By the time they get this sorted, we'll be operating on 4G networks with our aircraft.
Absolutely.
And it'll be gone. That whole radio line of sight thing, they'll have missed it. The technology will have passed.
Do you think that'll be one of the Phantom 5 features? Wouldn't that be awesome if they actually had 4G?
I can show you some of the airplanes. We've got operating aircraft, Parrots, Discos and stuff on 4G already. That's no problem at all.
As a commercially available product, that would be cool.
Oh, yeah. Of course, all of these things happen with the DYIs first. People who build aircraft and start using the technology. We're looking at the new HearLink for the Pixhawk. The HearLink has got in America has 20 kilometres range. In CE mode, it's got 12 kilometres range. This blows the DJI distances out of the water. So, the technology is there, and that's a radio line of sight at 20 kilometres, with good telemetry. So, they're just not keeping up, and they actually have to start moving and trying something, giving us a little bit more space. Let us work that 2 kilometre limit. And I'd tell most people here that have a Mavic Pro, Mavic 2, Phantoms, all of the flyers that are listening here now are thinking, wow, if I had 2 kilometres around me, I could do most of the work and have most of the fun I need to have with my aircraft. And be serious about managing the risks that are involved with that. We'd be doing cartwheels, but you know what? I'm not holding my breath.
Just before we finish off, I just want to go back to the earliest discussion. Peter de Mester says in the chat, obviously there needs to be an agile system where no-fly zones can be implemented or decommissioned as necessary. I've shared before how there's a local hospital helipad that has been bulldozed 10 years ago, but it's still showing up on all of CAS's documentation and shows up on DJI Go and shows up on Can I Fly There and all of these things. We have a big problem there today. The data is useless. Yeah,
it is. The no-fly zone is problematic. You can get licenses. You can get an unlocked license a bit. We manage them. We have unlocked licenses for all the capital cities. We just keep renewing them every 3 months so that we can, if we've got to fly, we've got to fly. We can to do the right thing. I know, all our and, the no-fly zone is not accurate. That's going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's time for what some actually say is the best part of the show.
I think it is.
Let's explore Australia.
Yeah.
Let's watch this week's video. So this first one, speaking of being heard, I better turn the music down so I can be heard. Drones Be Heard, it's a cool name. Shot in Western Australia, the Busselton Jetty, Busselton, Western Australia. The longest wooden structure in the Southern Hemisphere at just over 1.8 kilometres long. It's the place where most Western Australians learn to fish and is visited by over 500,000 visitors a year. Enjoy the sights and sounds of the stunning man-made structure that has stood this test of time. And next we've got from Hey Hannon, Byron Bay, New South Wales, drone footage. Again, Byron Bay is a coastal town in southeastern Australia, state of New South Wales. It's a popular holiday destination, known for its beaches, surfing and scuba diving sites. This particular conservation park is on a headland with a lighthouse. Between June and November, humpback whales can be spotted at the headlands from viewpoints such as Captain Cook Lookout. And he says enjoy this drone footage of the heavenly beach at Byron Bay. And then we move on to something from Rob's Stuff is the name of the channel. Sunshine Coast, Queensland, Australia, a collection of shots taken on some recent trips to the beautiful Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. And just a reminder, all of these videos, you've got links in the description to the channels, so please do go and check them out. Go to those channels. If you like the content there, subscribe and help support those great creators. And next we've got from a channel name called Cedar. This is an Australian grain harvest from 2018. It's a short edit of the harvest in southern New South Wales, Australia. Lots of details in his video description about the particular machines and things that he's using there. I'm not going to bore you with all of those, but for anyone into farming, go to check out his channel and have a look at that as well. Always love these shots of the farming equipment from above. Shows you a lot of the remoteness of the work that they do.
And their shots, you put the center line, look at that, that's beautiful.
Coast Tour Company, and a video here as well. In the video here they say this is located approximately 100 kilometres north of Brisbane for those who are not Aussies here. Sunshine Coast offers some great mesmerising locations, twisting through Noosa National Park here. And then moving on. Our second last one for today, The Gap. This one's from Albany, Western Australia. The Gap is located in the Torndirrup National Park. I've not heard of that before, but some rock formations thought to be about 1,400 million years old.
Wow.
So this was the second video in this week's from Drones Be Heard. So definitely check out his channel. Some great videos there. And last but not least, we've got Dan Proud. He writes, the only way to access the best of the Kimberley, Australia is by boat, but not just any boat. He was lucky enough to get together with a group of photographers aboard the epic adventure vessel, The Great Escape, in May obviously last year, but the footage has only recently been published. And he describes it as the trip of a lifetime.
Beautiful.
I know you've got some family connections to South Australia. I've not spent much time in SA, but it's certainly on my bucket list.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The Flinders Ranges area of South Australia is quite remarkable, but there's it's a very diverse state in terms of, well, you've got the Simpson Desert sitting in the north. You're a stone's throw from Uluru, Ayers Rock, in the north, and of course then people who have explored it significantly know out through Ceduna, Streaky Bay, right through that coastal area. It's just amazing, and the wildlife too is pretty incredible. For our international guests, the most poisonous snake in the world is the South Australian brown snake. There you go. Even we know that.
Yeah. So we get to that point of the show where we've finished all of our official content for the day. Just a quick one, the giveaway of that additional license for No Limit Drones. I will put that off until next week instead of trying to do something now. Let's do that next week. For the 4 people that I mentioned earlier in the show, if you could drop me an email to the usual email address, and I'll put that on the screen in a couple of moments for you. While I'm doing that, just a quick reminder, if you've got some questions, throw them in the chat room now. We'll just do a couple of quick questions. But that's the email address, upload@gregkuhnert.com. If you are one of the winners, send me that and you'll get a license key for No Limit Drones. As always, please do follow us on social media, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook. Please do share this video, put some comments on this video after we finish the stream today. Let people know that you're watching and hopefully that'll help us to grow a little bit. If you've got anything physical that you want to send to us, there's the postal address, 5/127 Princess Highway, Sylvania, New South Wales, 2224, Australia. And of course, Drone Book, Drone Camp. Drone Camp is the event that John is putting together later this year in October. So definitely go to the website and check it out. If you've got any sons or daughters that are interested in learning how to fly, send them to Drone Camp. That'll be awesome.
Yep.
So let's just have a
more
quick
about Drone Camp.
Yeah, let's do a special on it next week. Just talk about what's going to happen there.
Yeah, it's starting to take off.
So No Limit Drones lets you tweak it and modify it the way you want. What else have we got here? Rick Halber. Ready Set Drone is talking about pretty strict about flying those. Some of the less popular. Don't know what that was a discussion about. Any other questions before you go?
I think we're good to hit.
I think we're good to hit. Look, thank you for watching. As always, please give a thumbs up in the video if you think you liked what we talked about today. That helps us. And it's been good as always. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
See you next week, everybody. Bye-bye for now.